Hi again, friends. Thanks for joining me for yet another exciting installment in my Allan Holdsworth lesson series. Today we're going to do Was There? And before we get to it, I want to thank Ed Chang and also Louise Holdsworth because I don't know how many, a few months ago, Ed Chang had asked if he was able to upload the Tales from the Vault album, which you can only have gotten if you were I believe a pledge backer for Allan's for his for I think his last project, and for a long time that album was sort of held in limbo. So by Ed being able to upload it, it has an alternate version of this song, like a slightly alternate mix. For those of you that don't know, Allan released Road Games after being signed into, I believe, Warner Brothers, and Ted Templeman, I think was the producer, he wanted a different mix, and he had all these different ideas. And to be honest, I'm not particularly fond of the mix of Road Games, but the alternate mixes that Frank Zappa did, and also the ones that have a different singer, Joe, I can't remember his last name, sorry, I'm not that in deep with that knowledge, but those mixes are on Tales from the Vault, and they're so much better to listen to. So I was able to actually verify a lot of the parts in this song that I wasn't 100% sure of, because this song really wasn't played live that much, and like I said, the mix on Road Games isn't very good. So thank you, Ed and Louise, and I guess the rest of the family that allowed it. So this song is tough. There are a lot of really crazy stretches in here, but the saving grace is that it's relatively simple and short. There's only a few parts, and it repeats basically the same way every time. And I think part of the reason why is this song sort of started out as an instrumental, I think in like '82, where they would just sort of jam on it. I think there was some sort of framework on what to do, but it was an instrumental. There was no vocals. And I believe they continued to do that to maybe, I don't know, '84. I could be a little wrong here, or maybe late '83 before vocals were actually added to it. No, it had been '83. So I think this sort of started out as almost like a jam kind of thing, then evolved into a full-fledged song. So anyway, let's get to it. Here's Was There.
Is there something on your mind that's in trouble?
Alright, so the verse of the song is actually pretty simple in terms of understanding it. Playing it's another story. I have a lot of difficulty actually playing this, and you'll see why. So the first chord, it's this E flat major with the add 11, and we've seen this in Material Real and some other songs that I've done videos for. It's a pretty common Allan voicing, and the way that it's being played, it's sort of played between the bass note and the upper part of the chord, like that. And that moves between this E flat major add 11 to this G major add 9. We have a G, a B, and a D with an A. And if you've watched my top 10 hardest Allan chords, I believe this got an honorable mention. So that's it. It's just that 2-chord phrase. As you can see, it's really tricky to play, and it's also fast. So that happens 2 full times by itself, and then the vocals start. I think, and it repeats with the vocals 2 times. Then it moves up a whole step. So instead of playing E flat major add 11, you're now to F major add 11. And then that also moves to an A major add 9. That happens once. So yeah, you can see a lot of really crazy stretch, and I think I'm pulling the guitar a little bit out of tune because I'm struggling trying to hold the chord. That moves up a whole step. And this guitar is not very good to try to do these stretches, but the reason why I'm doing it, as I've said before, is so at least you can see the fret markers. Then this chord, really crazy. I was thinking about adding this to the top 10 hardest Allan chords, but I decided I don't think it's really that bad, at least for me, and that's where I really can only base it off of what I can do. We have this F sharp minor add 9. Yeah, a little crazy. And then what makes it a little bit weirder is that Allan actually takes his third finger, he's borrowing the 9th fret from the G string down. So you've got a E, a G sharp, and a C sharp here. And then his pinky's playing the F sharp, and his third finger's playing the A. But then what happens is you pull off, or not really pull off, but you let go and lift up your third finger. And then you're playing this barred note, this barred chord with the F sharp up here. Then what's weird, because now you have a note that's actually higher than the G string, and it just orally sounds very strange. And then there's this little melody line after that. You actually move your first finger up a half step to play this A, and then you play the F sharp again, and then you end with a D major add 11. So it sounds something like this. Now, there's no way that I'm going to be able to play that up to speed, so you just have to kind of take my word for it, because it's really tricky. I'll play it a little slowly just to see if you see how it sounds. Also, what's interesting is that F sharp minor add 9 part is actually in 7/8. So the whole thing is really in 4/4, but that one measure is in 7/8, and then it goes back to 4/4. And that's the verse. That happens practically every time. So then after that, it goes into this next section. I don't really know what to call it. Maybe it's the pre-chorus, but it goes to this next little chord part.
I know where to go to seek the sun.
So I guess this pre-chorus part starts off pretty simple with this B major add 9. But now what you do is you take your middle finger and you move up to the sus4. And then you also play the 5 of the chord like that. Now on live videos, Allan keeps his third finger here and then reaches for this chord. While this third finger is, this note is still ringing out, which I really can't do. Sort of lift it, but he's not playing it with his thumb. He's only playing the top part of this chord, which right here is an A major at 11, just like we played before. It's almost like if you keep your third finger, this looks like that Things You See chord. This almost looks like a B minor 11. But Allan's not, like I said, he's not treating it as a B minor, I don't think, and he's not playing any of those lower notes with his thumb. He's playing the top part of the chord, which is an A major at 11. Like that. So you can get away with doing it like that and not keeping that third finger down. Or if you want, we kind of got this sus4 here, and even if you want to add that F sharp, you get this chord. You can get an F sharp minor 7 sharp 5, which could be similar, something you can use as an alternate. But then after that A major add 11, it goes to A major add 9. Then it's got that same motif it did with the B major add 9, adding in the sus4, but it's a lot faster. And then you basically do the same thing here. You play a B major add 11. Once again, Allan's got his third finger on this A flat here, so it's almost like a C sharp minor 11, but like I said, it's just how he holds the chord. And then it's C major add 9. Same motif again, moving that major third to the sus4. And then you play this G major add 9 voicing. We've got the G, the D, and the B here, G major, and we're adding the 9. And then with your pinky, you're hammering on from G to A, and then playing the B on the top. You've got that nice little melody there. And then you move that shape all the way up to C. So you have a C major add 9. But then a lot of times what Allan does is that he likes to actually add his third and fourth finger here on an A and an F. And what you get here is an F major with an E in the bass, or like an F major 7. So I'll try to play that a little slowly. Once again, this is really tricky. It's hard for me to play, but it should sound something like this. Like that. This part also repeats later, but the last chord's a little bit different. After that, it then goes to a sort of just a straight sort of melody motif. You start using distortion on here, so we'll take care of that now. So now for this lead part, this part is actually written out so it's played the same way every time. I'm going to use my fingers. It's possible Alan's using his fingers or he's chicken picking by using a pick in his middle finger, but I'm going to use my fingers here. So it first starts out with this little octave thing on A. It's between the 5th fret on the low E and the 7th fret on the D string. Then comes this fast 16th note phrase. It's G to A to C to F, not E to F. And that sort of, you have a G, an A, a C, and an F. That's kind of like an F major add 9 arpeggio, or you could think of it as an A minor 7, sharp 5, and you're starting on the flat 7. And then it goes from D to E to G to B. So that's the first line. Then back to the A motif. And then we have this G major 7 line. Alan plays a G on the 5th fret on the D string, hammers on the 9th fret, the B, pulls off, and then rolls his first finger to D on the A string, hammers on the F sharp with his pinky on the 9th fret, and then pulls off back to D, hammers on his middle finger to E, and then uses his pinky to play the octave E on the 9th fret on the D string. And that's it, and that part repeats twice. That's it. And then it goes back to the verse part. The verse part's a little bit different because I believe that first chord motif in E flat with the add 11 only gets repeated once, not twice. So it's once there, modulates up, and then the F minor add 9 section. Then it goes into the next part, which is slightly different. It's a reprise of the pre-chorus part, I believe I called it, but there's a different ending there.
It's a game that has only just begun.
So everything's exactly the same except for the last chord here. So it starts off the same way. The B major add 9 with the sus4 to the A major add 11 to A major add 9. And then the B major add 11 to C major add 9 to the to the G major add 9. This is where it's different. Instead of moving all the way up to the C major add 9, Alan plays this voicing, which is a C major 7 sus2 or G major with the C in the bass. This actually leads very well into the next part because the next part is mostly these upper triads with different bass notes, which give those triads a different overall feel. So that's it. It just changes that last chord at the end, and then here's the, I guess it's kind of like the chorus section. This is how it goes.
Yeah, we can see through it all.
So I guess this would be considered the chorus of the song, and what's nice here is that this is the last part of the song that really has anything different in it. Everything else, it really repeats the same way, but repetitionally is a little bit different. So instead of repeating once, it might repeat twice, stuff like that. But I think that only happens for the verse. Everything else is really the same, and I'll talk about that afterwards. So the way this part is built is really with these triads on the top of the chord, and the bass note's going to be different through each sort of repeat of it. The sort of motif for this is D major to C major, and then C, F, G, and you're going to have different bass notes underneath that. So the first part of it, this is where the chord, like the chorus actually starts, is you have that D major with a C in the bass. So a D dominant 7 with the in third inversion with the flat 7 in the bass, and that goes to C7, then C, F, and then you play that G, but you're playing an A in the bass. So this has that like A9 sus4 kind of sound, or you can think it's G major with the G major add 9 with the 9 in the bass, or just a G with an A in the bass. Almost all, I think actually all these chords you can think of as just slash chords if you want to just write it out that way. So D major with the C in the bass to C major with the B flat in the bass, C, F, G major with an A in the bass. Now that triad part repeats the same way, but now we have different bass notes on the bottom. We have a D major with a G in the bass, and that goes to C major with an F in the bass. So this is like a G major 7 sus2 to a F major 7 sus2, or a D major with a G in the bass, or C major with the F in the bass. Same idea here, C, F, and then G major but with an E in the bass. So now that's like an E minor 7 kind of sound. And then finally, to just throw a whole bizarre wrench in the works, it's D major with the E flat in the bass, the flat 9, or you can think of E flat as your root, and this is an E flat major 7, E flat minor major 7 sharp 11, and that goes down a whole step to D flat minor major 7 sharp 11, or C major with the flat 9, or D flat in the bass. And then the last chord of this section is an F major with the B in the bass. Really weird name to name this chord. If you put the B on the top, you have this F major with the add sharp 11. But that's definitely not what this sounds like. B definitely sounds like the root here, at least to me. But now you have a flat 9 and a flat 5. So I think the best way to call this chord is really like a B minor 7, flat 9, flat 5, but it doesn't have the minor third in there. It's really weird. It really belongs to C major, but it's a real weird name for the chord. Then after this, it goes to this free improv solo in kind of like E Dorian, but I believe Jeff Berlin is just playing this kind of E minors kind of groove, and it's got all this free improv. Then it basically repeats the same way again. I'll talk about the repeats in the next section, actually. So after that kind of E minorish or E Dorian section, Allan likes to think of his minors as Dorian, so it's like E Dorian, D majorish. It's very free, but it's really based within E minor because you can hear it from the bass. It then goes back to the verse. It's like almost like the beginning of the song. Starts off the same way, and then the vocals start, and I believe it's 2 times now, just like the beginning of the song. Of this E flat major add 11 section. And then that moves up a whole step, just like before. Then the F minor add 9 section, F sharp minor add 9 section. Then the B major add 9 section. With that ending, then it goes to the that A note motif, the A octave part. Then after that, you have free drum and guitar improv, where Allan is not playing with any key. The drums are just playing very freely as the guitar. There's that interplay between them, and that goes on forever long they feel like going. There's no set time, which I guess playing live, that's pretty good because you can extend the set just by doing that kind of stuff. Then it goes back to the verse again. Everything else identical. The B minor add 9 section. And then this time it has the C major 7 sus2 part, because then that leads right into the little chorus part. And then the end of the song is the A motif. That happens twice, but that's it. So that's it. That's really the whole song. Like I said, it's really only those 4 sections, but wow, are some of those chords really challenging because they're so stretchy. So even if you have the stretch for it, I highly suggest not this guitar, having a guitar that has more of a cutaway so you can actually reach underneath. But yeah, that's it. So was there. Thanks again to Ed and Louise for allowing this the Tales from the Vault version to be released, allowing me to hear the song a bit better and help you guys try to figure it out and play it yourself. So I hope you learned something. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you guys pretty soon.